Today has been a really interesting day for crypto, with mostly green across the board, even though it was such a negative day for the S&P. Matter of fact, the price is down 2%, which, as you can see from the recent history, is a fairly significant move. And now, ladies and gentlemen, no, I am not worried. I always keep telling you guys to just zoom out, because if you do, you'll notice that whatever price action we're seeing right here, however deep the dip goes, overall, we're gonna go so much higher. And I mean, the Bitcoin halving is not even here, and usually the run only starts after the Bitcoin halving. Now, having said that, and we'll talk about this more in depth over on the trading channel, Bitcoin's recent all-time high could mean the halving is already priced in, says a Coinbase analyst. One thing that's quite peculiar, but we'll talk about this comment at the bottom in just a second, is that people keep saying things are already priced in. But I tells you, right now, if we're looking at the crypto market as a whole, things are not really up 100%, 40%, whatever, day in, day out, every single day. No, we're seeing some pretty solid corrections. But the point there being that when these corrections occur, like just now, there's a lot of people who think, yep, this is it. We're going to go down to zero. This was the end of it all, which you really don't see as much in full euphoria. And so when it comes to the question of is it priced in, it doesn't seem very likely, because even though, yes, there are some outflows of these Bitcoin ETFs still, I personally think we would have gone way more exponential if people were really certain of it all. And the fact that the institutions joined the game, and it's not just only minus every single day, kind of makes me realize that I don't think the halving is too much priced in. It's mostly just excitement all across the board. But it's a quite a vague little landscape. And the reason I put it that way is because hedge funds are, as of this point still, like we covered earlier this week, significantly shorting Bitcoin at record levels. Remember what happened to GameStop when that happened though? And Zero Hedge is putting it up because, well, sometimes the people don't think this is a really nice idea. And when the big money tries to go against the grain, they're trying to go against our Bitcoin here. That's where the people come on in, like with GameStop, and completely wreck the institutions. Then again, I shall add that for the most part, we assume that these are hedged positions because these guys are not stupid. Which brings us back to the point. Do you think that if the hedge funds were so net bearish on Bitcoin with such heavy pressure that the price could go up as high as we are going right now? I'll give you a little hint. No. Right? The price is up, what, today? Let's quickly check it out. Only a couple percent. But even this is very, very significant for all the downwards pressure that is presumably there. It's actually kind of funny that we talked about Bitcoin reversing a little bit earlier, and it actually did. Anyway, when looking at the news right now, guys, there is so much going on. One example, VanEck says Ethereum layer 2s could skyrocket to $1 trillion base valuation by 2030. And anyway, I think one thing is becoming quite clear. Contrary to what I said at the start, with some of the skepticism that I've been seeing, and that everybody's not in full euphoria yet, we are seeing some altcoin records being broken day after day. With Solana, for example, going on such crazy tangents over the past couple of weeks. And I keep telling you, don't try to focus on things which are not hot right now. And that might sound kind of crazy, but literally, if you want to make it the best way in a bull market, just go for whatever makes most sense at the time. Matter of fact, tomorrow, I'll post a video on just like 20 projects I'm looking into right now that have not even launched yet, and a few that have launched that are still extremely exciting. And I'll try to also post a tutorial for exactly how to buy coins before they launch tomorrow. So stick around for that. Make sure you subscribe for that. But even if you just take a little bit of a brain, turn it on and start thinking, what makes sense to go for? Well, if we go to the crypto rankings, all we got to do is just think. What is really, really hot? Well, we know Solana is hot. So let me look at Solana ecosystem. Hey, but let's say we don't want to look at what's hot right now, but what's hot forever. We take a look at gaming, for example, because gaming is one of the most obvious logical sectors to basically do well. So we just spend some time looking into all these different coins right here. Or if we want to go for something that's been really, really hot recently, that's kind of had a fall, but most likely over the bull run will still 10x. Again, my own personal thoughts. We go to AI. Hey, extremely, extremely hot. Also makes a lot of sense. Or of course, if we are feeling a little bit lucky, we can go for a sector more akin to memes. To which extent I can say, hey, with this one, it's just a matter of you being lucky, my friend. I don't have the best system here. I will not claim to have it. If you know what you're doing, all power be with you. Or to be more specific, there's a couple, like for example, real world assets. I think we have to type it in fully. Real world assets. The whole sector has been so interesting recently with so much pressure from guys like Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock. And even though today, again, it's not really that juicy. Matter of fact, the recent past here has also not been that juicy. I personally think that if we look back at this over the next few months, we'll see many, many, many X's. And again, I'm not trying to promise you anything. At the end of the day, nobody really knows for sure. It's just what makes the most amount of sense. And the reason I said nobody really knows is because, let's say, hypothetically speaking, that our real world assets do really, really amazing. There's still a chance that if we had just only gone for layer 2s, or if we had just only gone for oracles, I'm not so sure where on the list they are, that you would have been way better off. Or if we had only gone for launch pads, which most likely will do really, really well in a few months from now, as the retail really steps in and people start understanding the power of buying coins before they launch. And in my opinion, it's not a question of will crypto do well, it's which exact sector will do the best with the highest probability. There are a couple other sneaky things you can do. For example, if you want some bigger valuation plays, just look at whatever Polychain invested in, or Paradigm invested in, because usually those are not going to be scams. They don't have the craziest of X's because they obviously invest so many millions that the valuation is already high from the get-go. But many of my friends, they try to go into every single project that either Coinbase or that Binance, for example, has invested into, because you're almost always then certain that at least it won't, quote unquote, fail. And now before we move on, here's actually a really interesting project I've got to tell you guys about. It's a partner of the channel because they're pretty amazing. So Satoshi Dex is basically the world's first Bitcoin decentralized exchange that's gonna bring, at least as first, DeFi to Bitcoin. Obviously, this is a huge opportunity because, as I've said 1,000 times before, this is one of the sectors I'm most bullish on. And now, which project exactly will be king, nobody really knows, but everything in this sector, just by, I'd say as a basis, for me is bullish. Having said that, they've gotten a ton of featurings left and right. For example, Bitcoin.com stating these guys are actually launching a pretty large fundraising campaign, already raising $5 million, which is actually pretty wild because the last time I checked, indeed here, they had raised only 2 million. So apparently it's going pretty fast. Now, when it comes to these Bitcoin related protocols though, the only negative part I can say, because I'm always a straight up guy, is that everything is being built, everything is coming up. And so with their launch of the DEX itself coming up in a few weeks, their token launch in a few months, some people don't like it. Some people like when things are already functioning before getting into it. But that's the difference between you going into something with the anticipation of something great, or you going for something that's already great. And that's also where the value difference lies, because here, you've got the opportunity to be relatively early, but it might not be the thing. You just don't know for sure. Whereas sometimes if you wait, you get in later, so everybody's already in it, and the deal just ain't as good, which is why a lot of people are going for it right now as we speak. Again, I am not your dad. I'm not saying whether or not you should or shouldn't. They're actually at a significantly higher number right now as well. 6.1 million out of 7.4 in, I guess, this round. Perhaps they have many rounds to go, but you could definitely give their white paper a look. Just see exactly what they're planning, seeing if this is something you like. I personally think everything related to stacks, everything related to Bitcoin layer 2s, everything related to Bitcoin DeFi is an automatic focus. It's just also new and experimental that some people are not too fond of it yet. But I've not really spoken to anybody that's not saying that this sector is like a 1000x opportunity. I think we can all agree on that. And if you want to read, as I said, more, you can read a little bit more about how they're going to operate as new updates come along on stacks, seeing exactly how a Bitcoin DEX could even function. Or if you want to read more about the tokenomics and what you'd be buying into, you can check it out right here as well in the tokenomics section. Or like I was just saying, the roadmap, you can find more about it here. Anyway, if you do want to check it out, I'll leave a link down below because it might be something very interesting to you. And I'll say thank you, Satoshi Dex, for partnering up with us for this video. And little side note, one thing many people underestimate as well is just how well a project can do that doesn't fall within these sectors. The only reason I keep mentioning all sectors akin to this is because you have the highest probability. But literally, there have even been cryptos that I normally would never touch that I, for example, bought because of a friend's recommendation or because they're pretty good fundamental wise or an interesting concept. And I've told you many times that I'm a sucker for mine related coins as well. One that I bought quite recently was the Emerald company, ticker Emerald, and it was actually really freaking amazing the way it did. Their whole idea is, as far as I understand, to do a lot of stuff in the real world asset sector, but it's not something I would have typically placed in RWA until I started reading more into it, understanding more. Anyway, point being, this one really surprised me, and it made me realize sometimes it really is mostly just about who the people behind it rather than what the concept of the company is. And like I said, when this is all around, even right now, real-world assets are up and coming, but they're not extremely hot just quite yet. It's mostly us predicting what the next big wave is going to be. But I still think real-world assets are the absolute hottest thing over the next few months, with of course a little battle between that and AI. But AI has been hot for a good minute. Real-world assets haven't. One thing many people don't realize either is just how much in the background all this crypto world is changing. Like seriously, PayPal enabling stable to fiat coin, stablecoin to fiat coin options for international money payments. It's kind of interesting how many cryptos were designed to make all these issues easier, but now that some of the TradFi companies are also just not trying to miss out on the opportunities. And I guess the institutions know that too. They know there's a lot that's going on, and I think a lot of the institutional outflows that we're noticing right now are just people switching over from Grayscale to other funds like BlackRock, or it might just be a cyclical thing where every now and then you have just people selling for any sort of purpose. But in the back end, everybody knows that this crypto space ain't never going down to the places that it was at before. Now, I'm not going to tell you, no, we will never go below 60,000 again, but it does make sense to never go back to $30,000 a Bitcoin, and I can definitely stand by that. Again, right now, Apple and some of these major companies have not really fully gotten into crypto. I mean, some of those guys like Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, they're already into crypto, but Apple as a company, they're not really associated. I'm not saying they're going to buy Bitcoin like Tesla or all those are doing. I just meant as in making crypto payments really, really easy on an iPhone. It is going to happen. And you know that once that happens, crypto prices will be significantly higher than they are today. And as long as I have that in the back of my head, we know these things are going to get absolutely massive. So it's just a matter of being able to hold out, being able to see the next trend, to capitalize on the gains, to make the most out of it. Because doing well ain't that hard. If you don't 10x your portfolio, you made mistakes somewhere, or you didn't prepare well enough. Because I told you, I think my portfolio will do at least, I'm going to say probably around a 100x over the next year and a half. That is, again, considering the crypto bottom. It's not a 100x from the previous crypto cycle top, which is another interesting part. Every cycle you become better at also cashing out your profits, but it always stays hard. But hopefully, as time goes on, I'll be able to tell you guys more about my strategy. Because right now even, I sell altcoins all the time to buy different altcoins. Because you got to rebalance. You always want to rebalance your portfolio to do what makes sense at the time. And don't stick to old trades. Don't be like, oh, you know what? I committed to this. And at the start, when I started investing in crypto, I'm going to stick with it. No, I've sold many coins that I was bullish on. Because if something else is more bullish, I got to try it out. Then again, the only caveat to that is if you're bad with the emotions in, let's say you sell one thing, and then it goes up 20% the next day. If you can't handle that, obviously this ain't your thing, right? But for me, man, I've seen my portfolio go down so much up and down. I got numb to it. And when I say that I've gotten numb to the figures on my screen, basically, it sometimes makes me consider that guys like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, whatever, they might be down $100 billion. It's some food for thought, right? I know you might say, oh, but that's not liquid. Whereas crypto, you could theoretically speak, just cash out. Yeah, if you don't have meme coins, you most likely could. But still, the idea to be down, just, last year you were worth $100 billion more. It still is interesting, right? Just the pressure that puts on somebody. But yeah, that was it from a little crypto update here. Just wanted to keep you guys in good spirits and say things are only going to go up from here, basically. Not in a direct line, but in terms of adoption, in terms of excitement, in terms of everything. This is not the end of sorts. People get scared, but even if we have another little dip, another little fall, it just makes me more excited than before. And that's all you need to know.